Today I fucked up by taking an earth-shattering dump on my first day back in the office. So, just as a bit of pretext, I have colitis so my booty can be pretty rockin', but not in the fun party kinda way. I recently started a new job and have been working remote until today, the first day in the office for training. Sure, I thought, can't be that bad. So, just after lunch, where my boss had kindly bought us all food, I felt a rumbling in my stomach, not a great sign. So I quietly get up and ask where the bathrooms are, and slink off to a small room between the two sets of offices. I placed my booty cheeks on my porcelain throne and began unleashing the most satanic, earth-shattering farts imaginable, echoing off what was now the Dookie tomb, with a forceful splash, accompanied shortly before and after by more thunderous ass chanting. After my anal karaoke session, I quietly returned to my desk, and received some very odd looks from my first-time co-workers. A little while later another hops up and slinks away, and I realize I can hear him humming through the wall from the bathroom. Considering the rock concert I performed in there shortly beforehand, it's safe to say the entire office heard me rip ass with the power of 1,000 suns. Too long didn't read, played ass trumpet far too loud in the bathroom, which has surprisingly thin walls, reverberating the entire office and gracing my new co-workers' ears with sounds comparable to a brass band after a Taco Bell buffet. Asserted dominance on day one. Congrats. The least they could have done was clap his cheeks or the co-workers' hands. Holy clap. Thanks for all the upvotes and awards, people. This is just wild for a comment I made while half asleep. You could hear him humming. Are the walls made of cloth? I worked in a smallish IT office, and unless someone was on the phone or discussing something, it was basically just typing sounds. I used to go to the shops across the road to get shit done. Edit. Just remembered I always brought back my daily can of Coke as a kind of cover story. I temped in an office for a while, and one day I was taking a post-lunch dump, alone in the bathroom just quietly doing my thing, and someone comes in. I could tell when I saw the shoes it was my boss, and she totally didn't realize I was in the stall next to her, cause as soon as she sits down she rips ass, explosively shits complete with groaning. At some point I just had to get up, and when I finally grabbed some toilet paper and she realized someone else was in there, the silence was almost as awkward as when she started to unleash. Still haven't found peace from the discomfort of that moment. It's a natural part of life. People need to be less awkward about it. Take Hop's example, sometimes people have a condition or just have a bad day. Just feel bad for them but not judge it too harshly. Today I fucked up by not understanding how sleeper holds work and nearly killing my ex-wife. My ex-wife and I used to have play fights and wrestle with one another quite often. We were both athletes in school, football for me, volleyball and softball for her, so we were both fairly strong and we would really get into it sometimes. While I was obviously bigger and stronger as a former defensive end, she could still hold her own most of the time. Obviously we never intentionally hurt each other, but there were some accidental bruises here and there and some broken household items. We were still pretty young and stupid at this point. We both enjoyed it, don't judge. On one of those occasions where we were really getting into it, I decided I'd win the fight with a sleeper hold. Obviously I know now that I was an idiot, but at the time it was just something I'd seen done on TV. Anyway, I wrapped her up and did my best to not actually choke her too much. Assuming that the way it worked was by cutting off her airway, I made sure not to apply too much pressure on her throat since I didn't actually want to knock her out. What I did not understand is that a sleeper hold actually works by cutting off the arteries on the side of a person's neck, thereby directly stopping blood and oxygen flow to the brain. This makes it take effect much quicker and much more dangerous than I expected. She went from playfully swatting at my arm, to slumped over and limp in under 10 seconds. Of course I immediately let go of her neck and tried to wake her up. However, she was not breathing at this point. I immediately called 911 and started doing CPR. She ended up spending the night in the hospital, and I spent the night in the county jail until she was able to convince the police and the 3 different domestic abuse people who contacted her that it was genuinely an accident while we were off housing and that I hadn't actually attempted to murder her. This wasn't the last time we ever had a wrestling match, but it was definitely the last time I ever playfully choked anyone. We're obviously separated now, but this incident was not the cause. It had more to do with other issues in our marriage. Anyway, I'm currently single, so if any ladies are into being choked into unconsciousness, /s. Edit, decided to clarify a couple details I didn't think to mention. She was very briefly unconscious and not breathing and suffered no real harm. She was already awake by the time the paramedics and police arrived, but still a little out of it and not totally sure what was going on. That's why they decided to go ahead and take her to the hospital. I was not permitted to go with her, the police took me away. In hindsight, I'm pretty sure they were trying to separate us to keep her safe and try to get her to tell them what really happened because they weren't convinced I had accidentally choked her out. We both had to tell the same story to multiple people over the course of the evening and the next morning before they finally accepted it and let us go home. Too long didn't read, playfully put my ex-wife in a sleeper hold and ended up putting her in the hospital by not fully understanding how it actually works. Can imagine that wasn't easy to explain. Guess the first responders and police officers had heard some stories. Glad your ex-wife is fine though, that could have ended way worse than a night in hospital for her and a night in jail for you. First responders and police officers had heard some stories, or like seen some stories, sadly. My older brother did that to me when we were kids. I was trying to go to the bathroom and he said I had to make it past him. He grabbed me and put me in the sleeper hold and I passed out and peed my pants, but was okay. Glad I'm not the only one whose older brother randomly blocked me from doing stuff. Where you going? Upstairs. To wrestle me first, damn. Sigh /. When I was a young Marine they taught us the blood choke, then proceeded to say don't practice this on your wives/girlfriends you stupid crayon eaters. We used to have weekly jiu-jitsu trainings in the army. Randy Couture would also attend on occasion, and we actually started a few sessions by sitting cross-legged on the ground while another row of people would get behind us and choke us out. We were told to hold our hands out in front of us and when they dropped, the person doing the choke had to stop. A few of the guys were always completely passed out and we learned how to revive them by tickling their feet or shocking their spine by quickly pushing down their shoulders. I passed out once and after I came back I had a fuzzy memory and a terrible headache. Now that I think back to this, it definitely isn't good to stop blood from flowing to your brain, but we were a bunch of airborne rangers that thought we were tough as shit and had to prove our manlyhood. Till sleeper holds affect blood flow and not airflow. I always jokingly tell my kids when we play fight don't forget the sleeper is a blood choke not an air choke. After reading this I guess that was good fatherly advice. Today I fucked up by thinking I'm all that to the neighbor ladies. This morning I was mowing lawn. I was in shorts and a t-shirt and had my earbuds in. I live in an upscale modular home park where men are outnumbered by women 2-to-1. Most of us are middle age or older and try to mind our own business. Women are more flirty than usual, but that's fine. A few years ago the senior lady across the street would make it a habit to watch me mow my lawn. Some days she's bring me cookies or a hamburger or something to drink. This morning I was enjoying my music when two older women, probably mid to late 60s, walked by my place. They tried desperately to get my attention, but I wasn't in the mood to visit or be sociable. I'm known pretty well locally because I worked for our local paper and write restaurant reviews. On the second or third time I pushed my mower in the direction where they were in my line of sight, I could see them again trying to get my attention. I really wanted to ignore them and didn't want to seem mean, but I stopped the mower and pulled out my earbuds and said to them, "How are you ladies? I can't really stop to talk, I have a lot to do today." The one who had seemed most animated spoke up, "We're sorry to bother you, but we have grandchildren visiting us." Me, "Bring them over, I'd like to meet them." It's not that. We just want you to zip up your shorts. We can see your underwear. TL, Dr. Older ladies walked by and asked me to zip up my shorts. Wait, why would you ask them to bring them over to meet them after just telling them that you don't have time to stop and talk? Because he knows children love restaurant reviews and are obviously fans waiting on pins and needles to meet their local hero. Love how everyone has come together to take a collective steaming pile on you and this post. This a registered flex offender moment. Gilfmeister. Two trailer park grandmas go round the outside.